Americans love using their credit cards, the most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But D.C. politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com.
You know that feeling when you're about to score 30% off, but they want your number? Ugh. Give them your Line 2 number instead. It's a second line on your phone, perfect for nabbing promo codes without inviting spam to your party. Sign up for every discount under the sun, then block the junk texts that follow. You get all the perks, but none of the spammy baggage. More codes, less chaos. Visit line2.com/audio or download Line 2 in the App Store and get your shopping sidekick today. Because the only thing blowing up your phone should be good deals.
Tuesday with Tamika.
Hey, happy Tuesday with Tamika. Thank you guys so much for joining me for yet another episode of Tuesday with Tamika, where y'all already know what it is. We believe in lifting as we climb, turning our trials into treasures, living a life to inspire and not impress, opening up and allowing God to fully restore us, and loving as if we have never been hurt. I am so excited about just the flow of this month. April is full of new beginnings. It's full of bloom. I love the month of April, not only because it's my birthday, but just because you driving down the street, you see life returning. And I am a component of us living life. I am a component of us not just surviving, but literally being in the moment and living. I know, as the saying goes, life be lifing, and March was marching. But we have new opportunities to breathe and to simply be. I believe that today's guest is going to help us breathe and be. So, without further ado, hey sis, you have a minute?
Hey sis, you got a minute? Hey sis, you got a minute? Hey sis, you got a minute? Hey sis, you got a minute?
Hey there. Thank you, Tamika, for having me. I'm just delighted to be here.
Oh, Natalie, I am super excited for you to be here as well. Can you tell the TWT family a little bit more about yourself?
Absolutely. I'll start with just who I am as a being before I talk about what I do. Sometimes we lead with that, Tamika, but I am truly creative. I am unique. I am intuitive. I am purposeful. I enjoy being a student of life. So, just talking more about who I am versus what I do first. And in that, I get to expand my beingness into the work that I am absolutely proud and happy to do. I'm a psychotherapist, so I have been in the field of psychology and personal development for 20 years. I really
Mm.
started young. I jumped right on in, started a private practice, and have been able to do that practice for the last 17 years. And out of that, I've grown into other spaces of hosting retreats for women, helping them to explore the possibilities for their lives and overcome inner boundaries and barriers so that they can truly share their gifts with the world, and coaching them through that process and then teaching them how to breathe. So it sounds so interesting that we need to be taught, but I think that we are not given the space to breathe and understand the power of the breath. And so I get to do that work and I absolutely love it.
I love that, Natalie. What I really love what you just said is how you led with who you be. I think
Yes.
often, particularly women, and to take it even like a level deeper, women of color, we feel like we have to lead with all the things that we do, because society doesn't honor who we are just as
Mm.
beings. And so I love that you honored who you be. And I want to encourage the listening audience, even as we are in this moment. I don't know, I just feel this presence of like peace. There's something very
Mhm.
peaceful about you, and I could literally, it's radiating through the airwaves. But I would like for the listeners to take a moment and grab a pen, grab a paper, and write down who you be. Like, who are you beyond the things that you do for other people? But who are you? What makes you who you are? And I think that when we take that time, Natalie, that's what really helps us slow down and breathe.
Mhm.
So much of life causes us to have anxieties and depressions. Now, we know being in the mental health field that some of this is chemical, some of us is out of our control, but a lot of it is environmental. A lot of
Right.
it is because of, the spaces and the places that we go into. How have you helped women that may be dealing with serious depression, anxiety? How do you help them slow down to recognize who they are and then to incorporate this beautiful practice of breath work?
Yes, it's a beautiful practice. You said it very nicely. What's important to understand is, and people I think are not aware of it, is the breath actually teaches you about life. So the
Mm,
breath is a mirror. And when I'm working with someone, as you asked, like, how do I do that? When I work with someone, we're looking at the breath to show us how they're living life.
mm,
And in that teaching you, hey, if you're having trouble taking in air, how is that showing up in your life? How are you having trouble receiving what you need? Because we need air to live. You
yeah.
can only go 3 minutes without oxygen. So, how are you not? What are the things and the ways in your life that you are not receiving, or where in your life are you having trouble holding on to stuff? The breath teaches us that. And so, walking a woman through the process of understanding it and connecting to the breath, right? Which is, in my opinion, the very first gift that God gave us. And
Mm,
so, connecting to that connects you to yourself, it connects you to God. And in that, just teaching them how to actually slow down, but not just how to, but giving themselves permission to. Let's talk about
yeah.
sometimes women, we just don't recognize, we don't give ourselves permission to actually slow down and catch a breath or take a breath.
Mm. Why do you think that? I mean, woman to woman, we know because even as we're recording this, listen, I got dinner on the stove. I done picked up 15,000 kids. I done all the things. Texted my
Mhm.
husband about stuff he has to do. So I understand. Why do you think in 2025 women still feel like we have to do it all?
Mhm. I think you started that with when we talked about saying what we do, right? We feel we have to say that. And I think one of the challenges is we think that we're not doing enough, so I have to do more. And breathing, slowing down, pausing, all of those things that we're encouraged to do does not sound productive, right? It's not adding to the list of what needs to be done. So the doingness of it, saying I have to do, actually equates to Mika to a belief if I'm not doing enough, then that means I am not enough. And
Mm.
so this idea of I'm not feeling like I'm enough, or I'm not capable, or I should be doing more is really tied to a belief that we feel we're not enough.
Mm. I was on a call earlier today with a significantly higher earner than myself, and he happened to be male. And he asked a question of me. He said, if I attain like this financial goal, what will I do? And I said, rest. And he kind of looked at me and he said, well, what else? And I said, rest.
Mhm.
And he
Mhm.
like looked again and I answered with the same question or with the same answer because I do believe we have to give ourselves permission to rest. And that
Right.
ties into the breath work because that can be very scary, Natalie, when we're taking
Mhm.
time to literally breathe and to feel all parts of our body when you're used to
Mhm.
chaos and you're used to going, that can be a shock to the system. Would you agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. And what the funny thing is, as I said, the breath is a mirror of life. When I am working with someone and we take a rest in the breath, meaning we take a breath, we hold it. That could be we hold it at the top or we hold it at the bottom. It creates anxiety for people, right? Because it goes into this idea of I need to be doing something. And
Mhm.
even their brain will say, you need to be taking a breath, right? You need to breathe. And so, yes, this idea of pausing and rest somehow has led us to feel like it's a weakness of sorts. Even the idea, Tamika, and I've really looked at this, even for us to say as women, we're overwhelmed. Because sometimes we need to take a breath because we're feeling overwhelmed. But to say that I'm overwhelmed leads us sometimes to believe that we're incapable. Now, we'll say we're tired, right? We'll say, oh, I'm tired. But you'll notice oftentimes we're very slow to say I'm overwhelmed because again, it's tied to what? This belief that I'm not enough.
Mhm.
And so I've found this over and it's very interesting and it shows up with resting and breathing.
Yeah, that's so true, so real. Natalie, I know I can only speak for myself, but I know that this type of work, I didn't necessarily, when I was a little girl, say this is what I wanted to be doing. I feel like this work has called me, and it's through my own story. It's through my own trials and tribulations that I've had to encounter in life. Tell us what called you to this work.
Good question. I feel slightly different, Tamika, and in how I came into this work. I've been doing this pretty much all my life. So my friends would tell you I was that middle school girl who was the counselor, right? Now I didn't have skill, I didn't have degrees, but something about who I am drew people to me. They would want me to help them solve problems, figure out things, talk through challenges. And so I realized it's a part of who I am, but I was drawn to personal development. I was drawn to books and stories and shows that were teaching people or showing people how to transform their lives. So it's a part of my work. However, the bigger thing was I really thought, Tamika, I was doing this work for everyone else, right? I was like, this is great. This is my calling. And then I recognized God showed me very early in my 20s, no, this is actually you on the journey, and you're getting to take people on the journey with you. But this is your journey of going through your own process. And I had to recognize some of my wounds that led me to this place of teaching people about wholeness. So I thought I was on the journey for other people, and then God set me up to show me this journey is for you, girl.
I love those gotcha moments that God does for us. I'm like,
Right,
"Oh my gosh, you done really tricked me into this."
right.
I love that. I was the other day, me and my husband were watching, I don't know how he got it on his phone. He was streaming it from some one platform, Family Matters, when you were talking about like being drawn to shows and different things with personal development. And, we were teen kids when that show came out in the 90s.
Mhm,
And some
mhm,
of the lessons that they were, teaching in that show, I was like, "Oh my gosh, like if only I didn't understand half of it, the personal
mhm.
development and like just the life skills that they were teaching. They were definitely a show before their time. And I remember I've always been drawn to that type of stuff. And that also helps for the women that are listening, for the men that are listening, that heard the faith action stuff that I gave earlier about write down who you be. It's simply found in the things that we enjoy doing, right?
Right,
Oftentimes there is a correlation for who we are and what we do. And especially when people say like they can't find their purpose or their passion, it's some most of the time right in front of us. So what you were saying about being drawn to those things. My kids hate watching a TV show or something with me because I'd be like, now we need to, I'm psychoanalyzing, I'm doing, and I've
right,
always been that. And I try to turn it off, but it's just,
right.
hey, it's who I am. Do you find yourself doing that as well, Natalie?
Yes, and I watch anything that someone can grow and change. I remember The Biggest Loser was a big show at one point, and just to see the transformation, mindset.
This season, a new hot deal has arrived at Metro. $25 a line for 4 lines with all the data you need and 4 free Samsung Galaxy A15 5G phones. Getting Metro's best deals is easy. No ID required, no activation fees. Get a new number or keep your own. It's up to you. That's 4 lines for $25 a line, plus 4 free phones. Visit a store or go online today. Only at Metro by T-Mobile.
When you join Metro Plus Tax, for a limited time and subject to change. Max 1 offer per account.
Americans love using their credit cards, the most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But DC politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com.
Transformation, physical transformation. I'm crying with them because I just love to see people really just step into a better version of themselves. So yes, I'm that girl. I'm that girl.
Transformation, that's another one of those really beautiful words that so many of us are often in transition, right? And we're often in this state of transformation. I can only imagine with the retreats and the things that you do, you are helping women in real time walk through transformation and transition. Tell us a little bit more about your retreats that you host.
Yes, it is such a transformative experience. And so one of the things that I do is I choose a place that supports the transformation. I call it my co-facilitator.
Mhm.
It helps to deliver that baby or that process a little easier. But taking a woman out of her familiar space, that's the first thing, because sometimes we get in a space and we get used to it, whether we are satisfied or not in it, right? We become adaptive to that space. So taking them out of the space, sometimes it looks like taking them all the way across the world and
Mm,
putting them in an environment that's conducive for them to pause, as we've talked about earlier, to breathe, but to connect with themselves, to connect with the new culture, to connect with other women, and then help them to release the stuff that's getting in the way of them seeing the truth of who they are and then
mm,
showing them possibilities for their lives. It is a beautiful unfolding, and I'm so grateful that God allows me to do it, to take them on a journey that our paths cross at the right time, right? The right season, the right time. And what we do in that process is we all hold a container. I guide
mm,
and lead it, but we all hold that container for this transformative process where women leave literally saying, I didn't even recognize myself. One of the ladies took a picture and she saw herself in the picture and didn't
mm,
even know it was her. That's how much transformation had occurred in her over those 7 or 8 days. So it's this beautiful process that we all can walk in when we're ready to transform.
mm. There is such a man, there I'm like just imagining it, envisioning it. I'm a very much so visual person. So when I hear people talk, I can see the story that they're sharing, right? So I
Mm,
see it. And again, there's such a piece about you when you share and when you talk. So I can only imagine that that helps women to pause and to rest. And that's a skill. You know, there are so many people that because we're all energy, right? We're all made up of
right.
energy, and there's so many people that are attempting to do this work, but their energy isn't conducive to helping people through that transformation. What are some practices that you do on a daily basis or you encourage your clients to do that helps with that stillness and that peace and really that regulation of the nervous system?
I'm appreciative of you recognizing that, right? The importance of it, because it is an embodiment, right? So what I am inviting anyone into, whether it's in the therapeutic room or it's in a wellness retreat or wherever we are, um, I believe you become what it is that you're walking and guiding them into, which is actually what God does, right? Everything that God does, He is. He
Yeah.
embodies it. And so this embodiment work has been something that I work on intentionally to be present with what's going on within myself, right? My thoughts, my behaviors, my actions. I love silence. Now, I will tell you the truth. I didn't always enjoy silence, and it can be intimidating because once you get still and quiet, you hear the stuff, right? The noise gets really, really loud. And so I
Mhm.
remember a season of that and being afraid of it. But God, once again, as you talked about earlier, he walked me in backwards into a situation where he taught me the purpose and even the background of what it means to really be in meditative spaces. And so
Yeah.
in 5 o'clock prayer, at 5 o'clock prayer early in the morning, he invited me to not say anything in prayer. Now, can you imagine? This is 5 o'clock, first problem. Second problem, this is 45 minutes, okay? I'm not talking about 5 minutes of silence. I'm talking about 45 minutes for weeks that I would sit
Wow.
and not say one word in prayer. And I would just sit,
Mhm.
and every time I had a thought, I would bring that thought back down. And when I tell you there's a place of peace that you haven't experienced until you find this place of stillness,
Mm.
it was the most beautiful thing I had ever experienced. Now, if he would have told me that was what we were doing, I would have said, no, 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 we're not doing that, right? Because 5 a.m. was the first problem.
Right.
And then I was on the floor for 5 a.m.,
Mhm.
45 minutes in silence. But what I learned, which is a part of this embodiment that I believe in, is getting the stillness and quieting the mind and really being able to hear your inner voice. So that's a part of the process for me, right? Finding that. And life is busy and noisier than it was at that time. This would have been, man, almost 20 years ago when I was taught that. So I have to maneuver it into the new system of how I'm currently living. But I take nothing for silence. I absolutely love it.
Mm. You know, I want you to just really talk really quickly to even that being in those transitions, right? Because I have struggled with things that I used to do when my life was simpler, when there weren't as many kids, or when the kids were, people always say, oh, life should be a lot easier for you because my youngest is now 13. But I feel like
Mhm.
it's a lot when they were littler, I could put on TV and put some toys in front of them and go do my thing, but now they're, like, always needing something, and they're aware of where I'm at and what I'm doing and what, they need, and so I've had to reconcile with myself that my life doesn't look like what it looked like 20 years ago or 10 years ago or 5 years ago, but how to continue to take care of myself even though
Right.
it may shift and it may change. So as we're starting to wrap up, and I definitely want you to tell the TWT family how to connect with you, how to continue on this journey with you. But what are how do we how, as women, do we reconcile the transition when the transition may be uncomfortable? Because you talked about environment, and sometimes our mental space or our physical space is so familiar, and we want to stay in that place, even though we know it's time for the transition. But we're so comfortable and we're so like stuck almost in this place that when the transition begins to happen, we're trying to use the tools and the things that we did in one season, but they just don't fit in the current transition that we're in. How do we reconcile that and how do we come to peace with it? And then also, how do we continue this conversation with you, whether it be on social media or at your website? How did the TWT family get in contact with you?
Yes, thank you. I definitely want to share and answer the question of acceptance, which I heard as one of the words you used. The importance of acceptance. I mean, one of the challenges we have is we are sometimes in competition with our expired self, right?
Ooh, girl, say
Our
that
our
again.
expired self, right? This self that I used to
Mm,
be. And I recognize that and as a part of evolution, which everything that lives will evolve, right? If it chooses that, um, that I had to let go of my expired self, right? The woman that I used to be, the way I used to do things, how I used to show up, and embrace who I am at this moment.
wow.
Right. And sometimes that's challenging because sometimes we may say, well, this is not who I want to be in your current state. But then you ask, well, who do I want to be? And we start making choices and decisions that align with that. So the acceptance of letting go of the expired self and embracing who we are at this moment gives us a freedom, right? It gives us a freedom, and that is the freedom to choose, which God is that's the one thing he gave all, right? This ability to choose, free will, our ability to choose is the most powerful thing we have. And then
Mm,
exercising that choice intentionally every
yeah.
day. And in the new person that you are or have become, you talked about a little bit about how we kind of navigate and put things into that space. And I say, make it very simple. I
Mm.
can't perhaps do 45 minutes of silence, but you know what I do? I do spend 5 minutes. The very first thing I do in the morning is I take 5 cleansing breaths and I center myself in those breaths. I can't potentially do a whole session in that moment, but I find the moments, I create them. And so I just wanted to share those because I know our time is ending. How others can stay connected with me, I absolutely would love that. I'm on all social media platforms as Natalie Warren. I will say my mom and dad knew I would be unique, so they spelt my name differently from birth. So it is Natolie, but on all social media platforms. And then the website is awakentopower, the number 2.com.
Mm. Yes, Natalie. Yes to all the things. All of her information to connect with her will be in the show notes because if you're anything like me, and I know that you are, if you're a part of the TWT family, you want more. You want more. You want to learn more. You're probably already trying to figure out when's the next retreat? How do I get there? How do I book her as a coach? You guys already know that I don't believe in being in competition. Now I realize I've been in competition with my expired self, but that ends today. But I don't believe in being in competition with other women because there's so much space and there's so much opportunity for all of us. So as you're listening to this podcast, something that Natalie may have said may deeply resonate with you. And this is like has unlocked something inside of you. I want you to go follow her. Go to her website. Natalie, do you have opportunities to like book clarity sessions or to see if you guys are a good fit? Do you have those opportunities on your website?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Absolutely. So I want you all to go and, explore how can you be more of you? How can you do this? And this may be an opportunity to do it with Natalie, to do it through her practices. And definitely, she slid it in there, but those 5 cleansing breaths, that is a way for you to really just thank God for another
Mhm.
opportunity. It's another day to live. So sitting, centering yourself, grounding. These are biblical principles that God
Right,
gave us. He says, be still and know. He says, for us to to renew our mind. So all of these things
right,
that Natalie is teaching are biblical principles. So I want you
right.
all to literally, if you didn't take anything from today, which I know you took a lot, start to practice stillness, start to practice breath work, and get with Natalie so you can know how to properly do this so you can regulate. And the great thing about these skills is it's something that you could teach to your children. It's something
Absolutely.
you teach to your grandchildren and pass it on for generational healing. Natalie, I thank you so much for spending this Tuesday with the TWT family. I want to just encourage you to continue doing God's work, continue to live a life to inspire and not impress. TWT family, remember to lift as you climb. Remember to turn those trials into treasures and open up and allow God to fully restore you. Go and like this podcast. Go on over to Apple Podcasts. Give us those 5 stars. If you're listening on Spotify, you can also rate it over there. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel and share this episode with at least 2 of your good friends. Until next week, bye bye.
This season, a new hot deal has arrived at Metro. $25 a line for 4 lines with all the data you need and 4 free Samsung Galaxy A15 5G phones. Getting Metro's best deals is easy. No ID required, no activation fees. Get a new number or keep your own. It's up to you. That's 4 lines for $25 a line, plus 4 free phones. Visit a store or go online today. Only at Metro by T-Mobile.
When you join Metro Plus Tax. For a limited time and subject to change. Max 1 offer per account.
Want to keep your personal number private but still stay connected? With Line 2, you can get a second phone line right on your device with a super simple app and no need for another phone. Whether it's for online shopping, dating, or shielding your main number from spam, Line 2 is an easy way to manage it all. Ready for peace of mind without breaking the bank? Call, text, block, and more for only $9.99. Get started with line2.com/audio or download Line 2 in any app store today. Line 2, your second line simplified.